I'm Paul Finnerty, a priest of the Diocese of Limerick, working out of the Bishop's office here in Limerick as the Diocesan Secretary, and also working in respect of education and the provision of education here in the diocese. And I greet you today from St. John's Cathedral, the cathedral which is based in the heart of the city and also known as the Mother Church of the diocese. We hear a lot today about Ireland's economic woes, but this building was built at a very, very difficult time in Irish history, built after the Great Irish Famine. And it was to the people of its day an iconic building that offered hope and inspiration to people emerging from a very, very difficult period in Irish history. And in the Gaelic language, we distinguish between the church as a building on Oglish and the church as the people of God on Fubble Day. And each church building serves a particular community, the community that surrounds it, just as our schools serve a particular community. And today we have been hearing about a particular side of our city, the south side of our city. And I'd like to speak a little bit about the provision of education within the south side of this city. The constitution of the Irish state is unique in many ways, and one of its unique ways is that it says the state is obliged to provide for education, but it's up to the community then to provide that education. And a community provides that education under the patron of a recognised person or a recognised body by the state. The patron is the person or the group that establishes a school within a particular community to serve that community. The patron thereafter is the one, if there is to be any changes to that school, it has to happen with the patron's consent and approval. In 2008, the Department of Education and Skills began a process where it looked at the provision of education throughout our city, looking at many of the areas, and particularly at the south side of the city, and how the education provision was meeting the needs of this particular community in the south side of the city. The local area development plan, in conjunction with the regeneration master plan, came up with a particular vision for education provision in this side of the city. An education provision which looked at education from early childhood right through to adulthood, going through the formal and the informal stages of education. The patron engaged in that process of consultation, but also after the local area development plan was produced, sat down and looked at the plan itself and came up over the last number of months and years with his own vision for education and the provision of education in the south side of the city. And it's a little of that that I would like to speak about today. Because every school nurtures or supports the community in which it is located. Now, I was fortunate to have had parents who had a great value on education. But not only did they have that value of education, they realized that if I was to get the best out of the education that was being offered to me, I needed to have a good night's sleep. I needed to go to school with a breakfast in my stomach, a lunch bag in my school bag, and that I would be coming home to an environment where I would get an evening meal and also somebody to sit down and help me with my homework that evening. Sadly, that's not a reality for some children in this particular part of the city in which I speak to you today, and you will have seen some of this city as you drove around earlier today. So what we would like to do, or the vision that the patron has for education in this area, this side of the city, is looking at education, but also looking at it in the place where that education is provided, or the context, the circumstances. And those circumstances are very, very important. How the children receive the particular care which will allow them to get the most from their education. So we've been engaging with a concept known as edu-care, which looks at the formal education, but in the context where care is provided to those children who have particular needs, because the children of this area come from a very diverse background, and particular children have particular needs that need to be addressed and they need to be served. But in order for that to happen, we need an integration of the services, because there are many services provided to the children of this area. However, we would like to see them integrated in a more holistic way. And for that to happen, there is a need for greater partnership between all those providing education and the care elements that are so fundamental to the children's education in this part of the city. And that partnership will rely on bringing groups such as the Department of Education, the Board of Regeneration, groups and agencies such as the Limerick LEDP, and also then obviously the patron is a vital person in that whole partnership, because the patron, we are fortunate in this part of the city, is actually patron of the 4 schools in question, and has engaged over particularly the last 2 years, in a consultation process with the schools themselves and with the wider community around what will best serve the needs of this community into the future. So for us to realise our hopes and aspirations for this area, we need to develop stronger links and stronger partnership model, and obviously rely on people who have means that maybe could help us to realise our particular vision, and particularly philanthropic support. Because the department will also say to us that there are parts of our country where there are no schools. So their obligation is to provide schools in the first place. However, we're aware of that, but we're also aware of the pressing need of the children in this area and the communities. So as I finish, I might bring you back to where I started, in this beautiful, beautiful cathedral of St. John's. As I said, it's an iconic building at the heart of our city, a building that offered hope and inspiration to a people emerging from the most difficult period of Irish history. Please God, I will greet you in years to come in a new building, hopefully in the south side of the city, a building that will also offer hope and inspiration to the people of this generation, but also to generations hereafter us.